I'm Pelin, for those of you who don't know, and I am currently the chair of the Young IFCM, and I'll be the co-host of the session with Gilles. Before getting started, I quickly want to remind that this cafe will be recorded and later will be shared with our members, so people have access to this cafe later on. And without further ado, let me introduce our guests to you. Today, we will be having a conversation with Copiaco from the Philippines, Kertu Süld from Estonia, Juan Villalba from Venezuela, Maclain Hardin-Kurza from the USA, and Sam Nicholson from New Zealand. So once again, I want to thank all our guests for joining us today. I believe it will be really valuable for all of us to hear your experiences. And to do so, we prepared some questions for you, and I'll give the word to Gilles again for the questions.
Thank you, Pelin. Now I leave the floor to our guests from them to introduce themselves. Please briefly tell us about your organization and your role. Maclain, do you want to start it, please? Maclain?
Oh, yes. Hello. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Maclain Hardin-Kurza. I am Executive Director of the Tallahassee Community Chorus in Florida, USA. We are an adult community choir of about 200 to 250 singers, depending on the time of year. So quite a large community chorus, one of the larger choruses in the United States. And as executive director, I handle mostly the administrative side of the organization. So I am not a conductor, but I am a choral singer at heart, a choral musician at heart. And we perform mostly masterworks, major choral masterworks with orchestra, also with a focus on commissioning new works by living composers. And outside of my job, I'm also completing my PhD in arts administration with a focus on choral music organizations and chorus management.
Thank you very much, Maclain. And Sam, do you want to continue?
Sure. Nice to see everyone. My name's Sam Nicholson. I'm from Auckland, New Zealand. For my day job, I'm actually, I've just finished training to be a lawyer, but outside of my time practicing law, I am the manager of the Auckland Youth Choir. And the Auckland Youth Choir is a group of 130 singers aged 16 to 27 from across our city. It's one of the largest choirs in New Zealand and certainly the largest youth choir in New Zealand. So my job, like Maclain, is all the administrative side of things. So I look after all the administration, membership, sourcing funding for the group, and coordinating performances and that sort of thing to make the life of the artistic team easier. So that's my primary role with the Auckland Youth Choir. And it's lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sam. Now let's hear from Kertu, please.
Hello, my name is Kertu Süld. I am from Tallinn, Estonia. I wear very many hats in my job, work life. Full-time I work as administrative and sustainability head for Tallinn Music Week, which is a very big music conference and festival. But I'm also choir singer and choir manager. And here today, I'm actually as the youth committee member of European Choral Association. I've been part of the youth committee for almost 3 years now, and we all have our projects, and I'm working mostly with national youth choirs.
Thank you very much, Kertu. And Juan, can we hear you, please?
Hi, hello everybody. I'm Juan Villalba. I'm from Caracas, Venezuela, and I'm a choral conductor of Schola Cantorum of Venezuela Foundation. Currently, I'm leader of the youth choir of Schola Cantorum, Escola Juvenil de Venezuela, and I'm a leader of the Building Through Singing program, which is a program of children's and youth choirs, almost 500, 600 children all over these years. And I'm currently studying my degree on choral conducting in the University of Arts here in Caracas.
Okay, thank you very much, Juan. And now I think we are going to introduce the last but not the least. Anne, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Jules. Hi, I'm Anne Copiaco from Philippines, and I'm also a part of the Young IFCM. So I was also part of the team of the Young program when we went to Istanbul last World Choral Symposium. And aside from this, this past 2024, I was the junior advisor for the Junior Philippine Conductors Association. And as right now, I'm currently part of the working committee in the Philippine Choral Directors Association. Aside from this, I'm also one of the conductors of the choir that I grew up in, the Kilyawan Consortium of Voices, which is mainly focusing on children's choir and youth choirs. But right now, I'm more leading the children's choir and our junior choir. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your introductions. And now we are really excited to hear your thoughts and experiences on being in the choral world as a young manager or conductor. And for that, we have some questions for you. Now, let's give the floor. Let's start with the first question. Let's start with learning. Let's start with learning what your organization is doing to increase youth involvement and what benefit did you observe when youth participation in organization. Now let's give the floor to Anne. Do you want to start?
Okay, thank you, Jill, for that question. So, as I mentioned a while ago, in the Junior Philippine Conductors Association is mainly for engaging young conductors. So, for our organization, we give them platforms on performing, but as well as experiencing how to organize concerts, competitions, and master classes and stuff like that. And this organization sometimes partners with the Philippine Choral Directors Association. So I think there's a very, very good relationship between the two things because there's really there's really this program or this platform for the older conductors and the younger conductors to kind of join forces and create events for the Philippine choir world, if I may say. Yeah, and for my choir, for example, since I'm handling like 6 years old at the youngest, even though they're little choristers trying to sing simple songs, we also find ways to give them responsibility, like someone will fix their pieces, with those little things that go a long way once they get older. Once they get older, they're more responsible, and then they can have heavier tasks like finding sponsors and handling logistics and stuff like that. And although those are very different things, like from the Philippine Conductors Association into the little choir things, I think these little things like really, really help shape the environment that young people grow up in.
Thanks a lot, Anne, for your sharing. And continue, please. Sam, you want to continue, please?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I missed the name cut out there, but sure. So I will answer this question actually in two ways. So as I mentioned, I manage the Auckland Youth Choir. So by its very nature, it's 100% youth involvement from its membership. So we've got 130 singers aged 16 to 27. So I'll talk first about the singers themselves, and then I'll talk about the leadership of the choir separately. So the first of all, in New Zealand, we have the New Zealand Choral Federation, which is the umbrella organization that that's responsible for choral music here. And about a decade ago, they observed that New Zealand has a very strong choral program in secondary schools, but there was a big drop off of singers leaving choirs after singing at school. So they would sing in their secondary school choirs, and then when they progressed to university or the workforce, they would stop singing in choirs. And that's been a focus for organisations in New Zealand to try and keep choral singing alive, because there's been lots of people singing at school and then returning into it in later life, but it's been about trying to fill in the gap in the middle. So we had a look at ways that we can make the choir accessible to singers to fill that gap. So it's simple things like the vast majority of our singers are university students. So when we plan for the year, we look at the university calendar. We're not affiliated with the university, but we'll plan a concert season so that we know that we're not going to put a performance or a workshop the week of exams. We'll take a few weeks off for exams. If we know there's people that are going to be out of the city, we won't schedule rehearsals then. So because we want people to be committed to the organisation and to the choir and to all of the rehearsals, but we also want it to be able to fit in around their schedules. Other thing is we'll never schedule anything during business hours, because lots of the singers work jobs and they might need leave, that sort of thing. So I suppose once singers get to what we call youth in New Zealand, sort of post-secondary school into early adulthood, there's a lot of different time pressures on singers trying to find out what they want their place in the world to be, what they want to do for work, what they want to do for further study. It's about trying to make the organisation accessible to them. So that's what we've tried to do with the choir. So that's the first thing with singers. The second thing is with the leadership of the choir. And as a youth choir, we really want the choir to also be led by youth as well. So we have a very experienced director of music who is not youth, who's middle-aged and very experienced, but every other aspect of the choir is led by young people. So the choir is governed by a committee of current members or immediate alumni. So our chair is someone in their late 20s who was a member of the choir for many, many years. And we've also established something we call the Development and Mentoring Project, which is where every year we will have one member of the choir will be selected to be what we call the emerging conductor, where they'll be mentored by the director of music. They'll get the opportunity to conduct a couple of pieces in a performance and work on their gesture, getting up in front of a choir. We also have what we call the emerging collaborative pianist. So they'll sit down with our experienced accompanist and get experience working with a choir. They'll obviously be a pianist themselves, but they'll also get to accompany the choir in rehearsal. And we also have a young composer in residence. So we will commission a piece from someone in the choir every year. So that's our way of trying to feed into the pool of singers coming up through the choir by each year taking on a conductor, a pianist, and a composer. We pay them a small amount of money, not a huge amount, but something to contribute to the time they're putting in and to make it a semi-professional experience, and hopefully try and grow the pool of young choral professionals. So they're the main 2 points I would have from Auckland Youth Choir's perspective.
Thank you, Sam, for your sharing. What your organization is doing to increase youth involvement, and what benefit did you observe when youth participation is high in your organization? I think let's hear from Kertu.
Thanks. From the point of European Choral Association, I would say one of the most important thing they do for youth involvement is the youth committee, which is 7 young people from around Europe. We work together for 3 years. We can develop our own projects. And I think it's, at least in our youth committee, we have taken it very important to also to show that youth can be everywhere, involved in every ways. Our predecessors, the last youth committee, developed a youth management handbook, youth involvement handbook, sorry, my mistake, how organizations can involve youth in different ways. And now we have also put it in more effort to show it further. We started our own blog for 3 years. Young IFCM was also mentioned there a few posts ago. It's a very interesting blog, and it has helped us to gain a more attention for youth. in overall. Furthermore, European Choral Association has the Eurochoir, for example, for singers up to 30 or 35 years, which just ended their session in Bulgaria. And they also have very different events and resources they have developed on how to involve youth better. We have events like competitions for young conductors and composers, but also festivals for youth choirs. We always have some ateliers for them. And I think that when we talk about what is good about when the youth participation is high, I think one of the most important things is it can bring new perspectives and new topics to organizations. We can start the discussions about topics that maybe the board has not thought about yet, but we can help them to go further on these topics. And it's also very important that that when we involve those young people in the future, they can be the new members, the new board members, the new leaders of the organizations, and therefore help the choir music world to be more sustainable. Also, I can think for now in the board of the European Choral Association, there are many conductors and board members who have been previously part of the youth committee, and that's how we keep also this proactive and very broad mindset. Thank you.
Thank you, Kertu, for sharing your experience. And now, Ron, would you mind sharing with us your experience?
Sorry, I missed a little.
Te lo paso ahí. No,
I think, will you mind sharing your experience on what your organization is doing to increase youth involvement, and what benefit did you observe when youth participation is high in your organization? Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
no,
Well, here,
mandé tus datos. Bueno, en realidad mandé tus datos, tu nombre. Te preguntaban alguna pregunta o algún tópico que quisieras que se tratara en el café y le pregunté cuáles son.
Hi, Regina. I think your microphone is not muted. I'm muting. Yeah. Sorry, Juan. I think we can take over now.
Yes, thank you. Well, here at Escola Cantorum of Venezuela, we have an important development of youth in Escola Cantorum through the program Liderarte, which was an initiative or a program of from different choral environments, not only Escola Cantorum, but also other organizations here in Caracas, for not just learning music, but also how to be managers, how to find some financial support, how to give a presentation of the programs, which was a very important program because we as musicians not so often have the opportunity to receive this information of how to, knowing the know-how, and also through the youth choir program, which I lead almost 5 years ago. I started an initiative or an idea of young leaders who want to start in not only in the music but also the leadership. They're making some courses about leadership, of managing, and to get some feedback from them and try to use their experience in other environments, because they're not musicians, they're engineers studying in the university, or just a teenager coming from high school. All the ideas of programs and how to be better in this environment is helpful. And well, now Escola Cantorum of Venezuela has a legacy from more than 50 years, having the masters Alberto Grau and Maria Guinand. And now we young conductors have opportunities, and these experiences of exchanging knowledge from courses, forums, and master classes with masters online or well, in the cities, in the symposiums. It's a great opportunity for us as young conductors to be part of that legacy and learning from them in our way and give them ideas.
Thank you, Juan, for sharing your experience. I don't know if there's any other comment on this.
Hi, Jill. I think we should give the floor to Maclain before moving on to the next question.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Maclain, please, would you mind sharing?
No problem. So our city is home to several major universities. So we have many university-age students in our area. And our choir demographic is fairly split between university-age students and then older retired adults, even up into their 80s. I don't think we have anyone in their 90s right now, but you can imagine the demographics of the choir. And we really prioritize that multi-generational relationship. So what can the younger singers learn from creating friendships with the older singers and vice versa? And we see those relationships play out every single week. So the benefit is multifold in that way. And there's a couple different ways that we engage specifically our youth singers. Each year, 2 graduate students at the university will act as assistant conductors. So they get to conduct and rehearse in every rehearsal, and they also will conduct pieces in each concert as well. We also have arts administration internships. These are paid positions, and similar to what Sam said, they're not paid super well, but a little bit of money to help them on their university journey. And our administrative interns can either focus in marketing, fundraising, or singer membership management. Those of you who know Reese Winjack, who is a part of the Young IFCM, he just recently completed a year-long internship with us where he was working with singer management. And then we also have an affiliation with the local university, Florida State University, where students can sing in the chorus and receive class credit. So they register for a class through the university, and then they have that on their transcript, and they can use that as an elective credit for their degree program. And then we are working on a new high school fellowship program that hopefully when we do this cafe a year from now, I'll get to tell you if it's been successful or not. But this fellowship is basically for teenagers who plan to major or study music in university. So it would allow them to sing in the chorus for a full year and have some conducting opportunities, leadership opportunities, and then also be mentored by myself and our artistic director throughout the season as they gear up to leave for university. So I'll let you know about a year from now how that program's going.
Thank you, Maclain, for your sharing your experience. Now, let's move on to our next question. What do you think the organization should improve to address the needs of young choral managers, conductors, composers, singers, etc.? So to apologize, Maclain, would you want to start with this question, please?
Sure. I think the area that we struggle the most with reaching young singers and young musicians and administrators is communication. So trying to figure out how are young people learning about the chorus? How are they learning about the opportunities that we have available? And some of the more traditional marketing tactics that we've used, young people are not participating in, right? So we've really tried to ramp up things like social media. How do we use social media to reach young people? How do we make sure our website is easily accessible and has updated information? Because we know that young people will go online and look at those resources first, right? And also getting out in the community more, going to local high school concerts, going to the university concerts, and creating the relationships there. So just letting people know, letting these young people know that the opportunities are available for them has been our biggest priority.
Thank you, Maclain. And Sam, maybe you would like to explain this point a little bit further, Sam?
Yeah, sure. So first, on the singer point of view, what I would say is a big motivation of our organization is to keep as many people singing as possible. And a challenge we seem to have is finding the right balance between having high expectations of singers in terms of commitment levels, while also allowing for other things going on in their lives. So what we find is many singers have been very, very involved in choral singing at high school, and because you're at school, you're always there, you're always in the room, and if you're not, a teacher can go and get you. If you're middle-aged or older and you're in a choir, you tend to be at a point in life where if you're going to commit to a group like a choir, you're going to turn up or you're going to quit. But that sort of early adult or youth age seems to be a stage where people have so many conflicting commitments going on. A challenge for us has been finding what level of commitment can we expect of singers in that age group. We want to strive for artistic excellence, and there should be an expectation that singers are in the room, because it's not fair on the 129 other people if you're consistently not showing up. So that's an ongoing challenge for us, is getting that balance right of what level of commitment should be expected of singers, and it's a particular challenge we've observed in this area. The other thing I would say is I think particularly in our part of the world, organizations are now doing a really good job of establishing internships and programs for young conductors and composers and pianists and that sort of thing, to get experience in front of a group. And I think that's in the last decade or so, that's something that's really, really been good to see. What I would say is, for our part of the world now, is to also put equal emphasis on the back of house side of things, so the administration, management, and governance, because in many ways that those things they're not as glamorous, but they're just as important. You need sound governance, you need funding for a choir to be able to operate. And in many cases, not all cases, but I find that often artistic staff are very strong in artistic aspects, but they perhaps might not be the strongest in the governance or management side of things. And it's important that you have competent governance and management to go alongside artistic staff to ensure that things remain within budget, things remain viable, so that the whole organization remains viable and cohesive. So I think perhaps more emphasis on governance, management, fundraising, that sort of thing for young people is an area we can look to develop further, now that we seem to be doing a good job on the artistic area for young people.
Thank you, Sam, for sharing. Juan, please, do you want to continue on this?
Sure. In Schola Cantorum, we have an earlier program, Building Through Singing. We have children from different social economical environments, and we work in schools. We've been closer to our communities, even more since the pandemic. So it's an interesting idea that starts with the children's choir, then to the youth choir, like the Escola Juvenil, and where I came from. And nowadays, some of my students that lead and wants to be conductors, want to be leaders, managers. So we are now moving forward through that idea of preparing a legacy, more courses of music, of conducting. It's an interesting point that it's like a farm where we have the seeds, and now they're growing up and they want to be the leaders of tomorrow. And it gives us hope, and it gives our organization, it gives oxygen and new ideas and some interesting programs that can be developed in the future. So it's interesting. And in Schola Cantorum, with the Lirarte program, as young conductors and young singers, we have more opportunities to present our ideas to the board, and well, it's an interesting point. Involvement through the communities, even so. Some of our young conductors who work in the Building Through Singing program began as pequeños cantores, as children choir, and now they are the leaders. So it's an interesting point after 20 years, seeing these results and being how to keep it on, how to move on with it.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you very much for sharing. And now let's hear from Anne.
Hi. Okay, so I think, let's say, for example, an organization already has a good amount of youth members or active youth members, whether it's a choir or a group of choral enthusiasts. I think the people who are leading should see the potential in each member as well. So, for example, you're in a choir and then you see that this younger person or a kid, even, we have kids who are very fond of composing their own songs. And so we give them, there was this one time where we gave them the power to create their own song and then we sang it as a choir, stuff like that. You see a member who is flourishing in, let's say, even if it's not related to choral things, like they're good at graphic designing, so let them do the posters. They're good at playing the piano, like a lot of our guests said. They have programs where they give opportunities to these members to thrive in the environment that they're already safe in, because assuming that the organization is a safe place, and then they're given platforms where they can find themselves in this choral community. And I also think it's very important for organizations to really give their members responsibilities, regardless how big or how small. And there's this feeling of being afraid that they'd make a mistake or something like that. But I think organizations should just let them make mistakes because that's one of the best ways that we can learn. And I believe that, for me as well, I also have lots of mistakes, but I learned from them and we grow from them. Even as a group, we can see each other's mistakes and we learn from them. So it's on the more, I guess, social side, the community side. It's letting go, letting them take control, and just guiding them through the way, but really, really letting them steer the wheel from time to time.
Thank you very much, Anne, for sharing your thoughts. And now, Kertu, please, do you want to share with us what you think?
Yes. One of my many hats is that I'm the manager of Estonian National Girls Choir. So I work with the girls who are aged 15 to 25. And what I've learned from them as they're the singers of the choir is that they're mostly looking for two things in a choir. First is that they're going to have this like a feeling of being successful in music, what they do, that they can perform the music they enjoy, they are inspired by the conductor. And after concert, this feeling after concert when you have done a great piece and wonderful performance, and the drive for this kind of feeling. But the other thing they're looking for is to make friends and be part of the community. And that is often very, very much more important even than only this musical aspect, that they're just there to be part of this community, this joint feeling of doing something together and having people who think like us. But when we think about how to get these young singers to be more than only singers, but also be more actively involved, I think it's what we're mostly looking for is the possibilities to learn and practice. I think it already echoed in the answers of other participants here as well. But the youth always wants to be involved, the hands-on involvement. There's no point to have the young in the board only just to fill this quota, but actually to give them this place to practice. And like Anne just said before me, to also make mistakes. When you have this secure environment that you can practice and work along with other professionals and to learn from them, and most importantly, to be treated as equals. I think that's very inspiring from young people. And that is what we are all looking for, no matter if you're singers, managers, conductors, composers. We just want to be part of the community and and to
No ver si mi cuarto es explora.
Please
yeah.
make sure you mute yourself to all the participants. Thank you.
So yeah, to sum up, the young Muslim wants to be involved with hands-on involvement, to be practically involved, not only just to show that we are doing something with youth and to be part of the community as equal, to also give back.
Thank you, Kertu, for sharing. Just a reminder for the participants, we have time for your questions at the end. And finally, this is the last question. What advice would you give young choral enthusiasts to help them to become more actively involved in their organization? And for the last question, Kertu, do you want to start with this?
Yeah, thank you. I can start. My biggest advice would be to become a volunteer in the organization or at the events. If you have some good ideas, step forward and help to fill those ideas, to help these ideas to become reality. I remember when years ago I was just a singer and in the National Girls Choir, and we had this idea that maybe we should have an Instagram account. I was one of those people who started this Instagram account. I was just a singer, but I noticed that the manager and the conductor didn't have time to work with that. And now we have two wonderful young girls who are currently managing the Instagram account. So I, as a manager, don't have to do this, but we have people from the choir who can practice and later add this also in their CVs when they apply for work. I've seen many people who actually have gotten inspired to choose their careers through this volunteering experience. I would also suggest for anybody who wants to start out as a young choral enthusiast that if possible, join some kind of internship programs like the YEM program the European Choral Association has had and will have in the future as well, or become a job shadow. I know there's some people have been shadowing composers like Bert Usberg, for example. What is the day of Bert Usberg? So it's very inspiring. And just most importantly, just go and network, find new friends, connections, make friends from all around the world, and if possible, even find some kind of mentors for yourself who can encourage you to move forward in the choir music world.
Thank you very much, Kertu, for sharing. And now, Maclain, please, do you want to continue?
Sure. And I totally agree with everything that Kertu said. I think it really hit the nail on the head there. And I also relate to this idea of commitment for young singers. Here in the US, we have this culture, for better or for worse, of just being busy all the time. So our young people go to school and then they go to work. And then by the time they get to rehearsal, they're totally exhausted, right? And we've noticed this especially since the COVID-19 pandemic, of young people struggling to commit to singing in the choir because of all of their other responsibilities. But we've noticed that those who have the most success are involved in a specific area within the choir. So whether it's artistic administration or marketing, running the Instagram account, working with our fundraising, when they feel that they have a role to do and a job to do and specific duties that they need to complete every week, that keeps them more invested. So if I were to be approached by a young choral enthusiast, I would really try and work to understand their goals and what they're interested in. So if it's concert logistics, or if it's working with the singers or working with the community, and kind of creating a volunteer position or an internship that really meets their specific goals and interests.
Thank you, Maclain. And now let's hear from Han, please.
Thank you. For young choral enthusiasts, I think I would advise them to really put themselves out there. Like, if you're not yet part of a choir or an organization, find one that fits your interests, or find one that aligns with your mission and vision in life. If you are part of an organization already, really, really let yourself be vulnerable to positions you're not or responsibilities you're not quite used to. Like if your strength is not much of this, then you can try it out so that you can improve on it. And I would also like to share that I guess personally, I originally didn't think that I would be fit to join the young program in Istanbul back in 2023 because I don't know, who was I or something like that. I had that notion inside me. But then I also felt, what would I lose? I wouldn't lose anything if I applied for this. And so I think it really helps to just, if you're interested in something, apply for it. It won't hurt to try. And if you do, it's really something that's meant for you. And another thing is, there are times where, as young people, we feel like we aren't ready for things that come our way. Let's say an opportunity that we're not ready for. But I believe if you wait too long to be ready, you'd be waiting your whole life. So just go for it. And yeah, if you're into it, then you got this.
Thank you very much, and for your share. And now let's move. Let's give the floor to Juan, please, if you can continue the same question.
Yes, in my experience as a young conductor, I would say get to know your team, because sometimes when you give the opportunity to others to get a chance to be a manager, to prepare, for example, stretching up because they're dancers, or they like the fitness world, for example, or they like to write, so doing some letters. I don't know, being part of the community, the choral community, because a choir isn't always people who gather to sing. It's a real community where everyone gets the opportunity to give something of themselves, and everyone is value. Sorry, I missed the word. Everyone has a talent, a hidden talent, and sometimes as young people, as young singers, we are too afraid to show what we can do. And nowadays I had the chance, and I had multiple chances to give my ideas and to propose some things and to, well, say something, and to say, well, I want to do this, how about this, how about that? And those feedbacks help the organization a lot. So the young singers should never be afraid of sharing what they want to do, or if they have a question, or if they want to propose something different, or something that doesn't really need to be a music or an artistic thing. But I think there is always an opportunity to improve in a way.
Thank you, Juan, for sharing. And finally, Sam, this last question.
I agree with everything that's been said, so I just have two small things to add. First of all, I would say my understanding is it's a universal experience that arts organizations generally are resource and time poor, and any help that is offered, no matter how big or small, will generally be gratefully accepted. So you've just got to take the first step of putting your hand up and saying you're willing to help. And the second thing, particularly as a young person and as a volunteer, no one's ever going to ask you to give more than you're willing to give. So I think it's putting up your hand and saying you want to be involved in whatever way you can offer, and then committing to the level you're willing to commit, and then I'm sure your help will be gratefully received.
Thank you very much, Sam, for sharing. And now, Pelin, I don't know if you're here.
Yeah, I can take the word here. Thank you, Gilles. And I want to thank our guests for these really great experiences they shared with us. I can say personally, it was eye-opening to hear that we all have similar experiences, although we are living really different parts of the world. And now we have around 5 minutes for questions from the audiences. So if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand via Zoom or manually if you want. So maybe I can start with a question to give you time to think for your questions or encourage you to ask some. But I really wonder, like, how do you think being involved with these organizations as a young choral leader contributed to your personal growth? How much it contributed, you think? And anyone can start if you have an answer already.
I can start. I have kind of an interesting relationship with my choir. I actually started out as a graduate student intern with the Tallahassee Community Chorus and had no intention of staying in Tallahassee. I was going to do my graduate degree and then move elsewhere in the world and continue my career. But I really fell in love with the choir through that process of working with them as an intern, and eventually worked my way up in the choir to becoming executive director, which was quite a fast track trajectory. But it's been such an amazing relationship, and much to the disappointment maybe to some of my professors, I've really learned more about being a choral administrator from working with this choir than I have in many of my 6-7 years of graduate study at this point. So it's been a really wonderful, mutually beneficial relationship where I've been able to develop my administrative skills and also have this choir family that's contributed a lot to my personal life and development.
Thank you, Maclain. Do we have any other comments from our guests?
I can share my experience as well. I started singing in a choir when I was 7 years old. So it was 20 years ago, exactly 20 years ago. And I've been in the same choir. It was a choir studio, so I was part of the studio for 12 years. And I think it was about 10 years in, I realized that I want to keep working in the choir music, but I don't want to pursue my career as a professional singer. And back then I also didn't think about the profession of conductor. Now it seems very interesting to me also, maybe to consider in the future. But then I volunteered at the Estonian Music Days. It's a classic music festival in Tallinn. And that's when I realized that I want to be a manager. And then you cannot study just choir management in Estonia, but I joined the university to study economics. And on the side, I was an active member of both the National Girls Choir, but also the university, academic university female choir. So that's how I got my professional experience. I did my internship at Europa Cantat in Tallinn in 2018, and that's how it's been going. So now I'm just involved in every ways, and being also part now for 3 years in this youth committee of the European Choral Association that has helped me to learn more about the other cultures, how different people work and think, but also just to make friends. So how to connect with people from different countries, what is the common ground, what are the differences, and it still keeps inspiring me very much.
Thank you, Kertu. Any other comments or any questions from the audience? Yes, well, thank you.
I would like to share an idea out of my experience. I'm mainly a teacher of overtone singing, and I have a choir called European Overtone Choir, and I actually go to schools and teach young students to sing overtones and get a feeling for sound. And those people are usually not in contact with singing. In German schools, there is no singing in hardly any school. There are a few schools that have a school choir, but since Corona, there's almost no singing at schools. And when they start singing, they don't know if they can really sing, especially classical music. If they have never learned to sing from scores, it's really hard for them. But when they make this experience of how overtones connect voices and they make this group experience of sound, very simple sounds, and they suddenly feel, wow, this is a whole new world. And they start to be interested in choral singing. And quite many of them then start in European overtone choir and go from there to classical choirs and pop choirs and things like that. Maybe this is interesting to you.
Thank you for sharing that, and I hope it's insightful for you to listen to the young's experiences about being in choirs maybe as well. So if you don't have any other questions, maybe we can come to the closing remarks. And before going, I want to, we want to have a photograph with you. So if you want to open your, turn on your camera, we can have a photograph together. And okay, then let's take this photograph and then have Antonio's question. Is that okay? Okay. So just waiting for a minute if you want to turn on your camera. Okay, then I'm getting the picture now. Say cheese. Yeah. Let me have one more just in case. And I'm having it. Yes. Okay, thank you. And we can have your question now.
Hi. I'm sorry. I am a foreigner and I live in China, in Shanghai. But there I've been singing since I was young, and there I can't sing because I don't know where, and I've looked for places but I can't find one. So I wanted to ask you if you have like an idea or references of places where I can sing there.
Maybe you can write to us to our office, and Nadine, maybe you can help with that. I think she's putting her email address now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So again, thank you all for joining, and I specifically thank our guests for sharing their experiences. And we are looking forward to seeing you in our next cafe, which will be on the last Sunday of September. So stay tuned. A great rest of the day or a good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you to you. Thanks to you.